This video brought to you by D7700.
The story started in the beginning of 8th century. Western Europe was in the Dark Ages following the fall of Roman Empire in the 5th century. In the other hand, Islamic world was on its way to their golden age. The Umayyad dynasty, centered in Damascus, was in its peak in expanding their territory to the west. Musa ibn Nusair was the Umayyad governor of North Africa at that time, who recently succeeded in conquering the territory and brought the Berber tribe to embrace Islam. In the year 711, he appointed a Berber general, Tariq ibn Ziyad, as governor of Tangier and gave him task to lead a small expedition forces north to Iberian Peninsula. Iberia was a former Roman province of Hispania. Since the fall of Western Roman Empire in 5th century, the territory was took over by the Visigoth barbaric tribe. The kingdom of Visigoth was in the middle of a conflict between King Roderick and his northern rivals, who also claimed the throne. In the south, Tariq ibn Ziyad landed with 12,000 troops near a hill that later named after him, Jabal Tariq. Europeans call it Gibraltar. He then ordered his troop to burn all ship that brought them across the straits. There would be no retreat option. Only march forward to win or die in the battlefield. After hearing the news, King Roderick turned south and marched with tens of thousands of his troops to face the Moorish army led by Tariq. The two armies finally met near Guadalete River. Having numerical advantage, King Roderick rushed forward and led the attack. Surprisingly, this turned to be his last battle. King Roderick killed and his army suffered a massive defeat in the hand of Tariq and the Muslim Moor army. After winning the Battle of Guadalete, Tariq continued marching forward with his troops, conquering every city in his way, including the capital city, Toledo. Musa ibn Nusair joined with 18,000 troops from Kairouan. In only short period, they both conquered most of the Visigothic kingdom territory up to southern France. In year 715, both Musa and Tariq were summoned to Damascus by Caliph Al Walid I. Musa appointed his son, Abdul Aziz, as the governor of new territory, Al-Andalus. The conquest of North Africa and Iberia was one of the greatest accomplishments of the Umayyad. But the glory was not for long. In 750, the Umayyad dynasty fell. The Abbasid clan, a sub-clan of Hassim, took over the power and capital city of Damascus. They killed Caliph Marwan II, who fled to Egypt, and all other members of the Umayyad family. But one Umayyad prince managed to escape the pursuing Abbasid army. His name is Abdul Rahman, grandson of Caliph Hisham ibn Abdul Malik. After 5 years in exile, through a long journey from Syria to Morocco, Abdul Rahman then decided to cross the sea to Al-Andalus. On 15th of August 755, Abdul Rahman landed on the coast of Almankar, Andalusia. He was welcomed by Umayyad loyalists and opposition factions to the current ruler of Al-Andalus, Yusuf al-Fihri. Without wasting much time, Abdul Rahman rallied an army and seized important cities, such as Malaga and Seville, before turning his attention to the capital city, Cordoba. In 756, Abdul Rahman managed to defeat Yusuf al-Fihri and his troops on a battle outskirt of Cordoba. He then conquered Al-Andalus and founded the independent Emirate of Cordoba. Abdul Rahman became the first Emir of Cordoba. Marked the beginning of the Golden Age of Andalusia. In a short time, he managed to turn his fate from a fugitive into a victor. His archenemy, the Abbasid Caliph Ja'far al-Mansur, gave him a nickname, the Falcon of Karazi. The Caliph once asked his minister upon who is most deserved to be called the Falcon of Karazi. His ministers replied, "You are a commander of the faithful." But the Caliph answered, "No." Then his ministers offered the name of Muawiyah, the founder of the Umayyad dynasty. Again the Caliph answered no. So then they mentioned the name of Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, one of the most successful Umayyad Caliph. Once again, the Caliph said no. They asked, "So who's then, O Caliph?" The Caliph replied, "The Falcon of Quraysh is Abdul Rahman, who escaped by his cunning the spearheads of the lances and the blades of the swords, who after wandering solitary through the deserts of Asia and Africa, had the boldness to seek his fortune without an army, in lands unknown to him beyond the sea. Having naught to rely upon save his own wits and perseverance, he nonetheless humiliated his proud foes, exterminated rebels, organized cities, mobilized armies, secured his frontiers against the Christians, founded a great empire and reunited under his scepter a realm that seemed already parceled out among others. No man before him ever did such deeds. Abd al-Rahman did it alone, with the support of none other than his own judgment, depending on no one but his own resolve." In year 784, Emir Abdul Rahman I bought the land belonged to and formerly a Visigothic church and built on top of it a magnificent mosque, the Great Mosque of Cordoba. The interior design was made in such way similar to the Umayyad Mosque of Damascus, to remind him of his missed homeland. Mixed with local influence of the Roman and Gothic heritage, produced an enduring architectural masterpiece. Construction completed in 787, the mosque development and expansions were still continue until year 987. After the passing of Abdul Rahman I in year 788, his son Hisham I, followed by their descendants, inherited the throne of Al-Andalus for the next 3 centuries. The era of Umayyad rule was the golden period of Al-Andalus. Cordoba flourished as the learning center of science and culture in Western Europe. University of Cordoba, first of its kind in Europe, founded in year 786, as well as dozens of madrasa and 70 public libraries, attracted scholars from all over Europe. Literatures and works of illustrious Islamic scientists such as Avicenna, Arazi, Al-Khwarizmi, Jabir ibn Hayyan, Al-Biruni, all can be studied in Al-Andalus. Why was science so flourished in Islamic world? The answer is simple. Because Muslims need science for religious activities to worship Allah. To find the direction of Mecca, to determine daily prayers time, also the beginning and end of every month. To create the water stream into mosques and houses for ablution and many more. Muslim scholars successfully interpreted ideas originally from ancient Greek, Egypt, Mesopotamia, India and China, and developed them to become revolutionary scientific inventions. Al-Andalus also generated many famous scholars with significant contribution to the development of modern science. such as Abu al-Qasim al-Zahrawi or Albacasis, the father of the modern surgery. Muhammad al-Idrisi, a geographer and cartographer who created Tabula Roderiana, a most advanced medieval world map, later used by explorers like Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama. Abu Marwan Abdul Malik ibn Zur or Ibn Zur, a philosopher and physician from Seville whose major works was influential to the progress of modern medical treatment. Ibn al-Awam al-Ishbili from 12th century who wrote Kitab al-Filaha, an encyclopedia of agriculture. Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn Bajjah, a scientist and a poet, known in Western world as Ibn Pache. His idea of projectile motion recognized by the International Astronomical Union in 2009 by dedicating a crater on the moon named after Ibn Bajjah. Abu al Walid Muhammad ibn Rushd, or better known in Western world as Averroes, a philosopher and chief judge for the Umayyad Caliphate. His works had a great influence and well respected by Western scholars. Popular in the West as an Aristotle's commentator and the father of rationalism. As recognition, his statue can be found in the old city of Cordoba, nearby the Mezquita. Don't forget to mention Abbas ibn Firnas, an inventor and engineer, expert in physics and aerodynamics. Long before the Wright brothers or Leonardo da Vinci, he already designed and built a wing, did a test flight from the top of the hill in Cordoba. He managed to fly for 10 minutes, although failed to make a successful landing. To honor him, a wings-like bridge in Cordoba built in 2010 named after Ibn Firnas, as well as a crater on the moon. We can also find a huge statue of Ibn Firnas in Baghdad International Airport. The rapid advancement of science and culture in Al-Andalus cannot be separated from the role of Abu al-Hasan Ali ibn Nafi, or better known as Ziryab, the Blackbird. Born in Mosul, Iraq, Ziryab once worked as a court musician for the Abbasid Caliph Harun al-Rashid before moving to Andalusia. He then worked for Emir Abdul Rahman II in Cordoba. His multi-talented and extensive knowledge immediately made him the caliph's favorite and right-hand man. Not only good at music, Ziryab often gave advice for political matters. His thought and ideas also referred by many scholars during his time in Cordoba. Even more, Ziryab had so much influence in culture and social life. He became a fashion trendsetter. He introduced seasonal fashion, new hairstyle and eyebrow grooming. He invented toothpaste, and popularized use of it as well as perfume and deodorant. He suggested Andalusian to take shower 2 times a day and shaving for men. He also revolutionized local cuisines by introducing new kind fruits and vegetables like asparagus. He introduced the use of crystal as container for drinks, and the 3-course meals served on leathern tablecloths. What we commonly see today, it was Ziryab who invented and first introduced it. 3-course meals was not known before even in Baghdad or Constantinople, and definitely not in Western Europe. Ziryab also introduced chess game to Western Europe by bringing in Indians to teach Andalusian royal court members how to play chess. The scientific and cultural revolutions in Cordoba those days attracted people from all over Western Europe to come, see and learn a new kind civilization. The economy of Cordoba flourished, its population reached 500,000, the largest in Europe. With street lighting covered every streets in Cordoba, it was the original city of light. Scholars from all over Europe came to study in Cordoba. They brought home not only knowledge they learned at school, but also a new culture and way of life they experienced in Al-Andalus. Abdul Rahman III ascended the throne in year 912. After successfully securing his power in Al-Andalus, he also managed to expand his influence up to North Africa. In year 929, he proclaimed himself a caliph of the Caliphate of Cordoba, equal to two other existing Islamic caliphates, the Abbasid in Baghdad and the Fatimid in Tunisia. Abdul Rahman III built a palace city of Medina Azahara just outskirt of Cordoba as the new capital city of the Caliphate and the royal residence. The grandest and most luxurious palace city in its era. As a reflection of the glorious and advancement of Al-Andalus civilization at that time. Abdul Rahman III passed away in year 961. He was replaced by his son Hakam II. His reign was a period of peacefulness and prosperity. Until he died in year 976. He inherited the throne to his 11-year-old son, Hisham II. With many rejections initially to the minor caliph, but all eventually muted by the vizier, Al-Mansur ibn Abi Amir. Al-Mansur since then acted as a counselor and protector of the young caliph. Also in charge of the daily executive office, in fact he was a de facto ruler of Al-Andalus. Al-Mansur was an astute politician, manipulative and ruled with iron fist. Yet he was feared by his enemies. Especially the northern Christian kingdoms and factions who wanted to overthrow the young Caliph Hisham II. After he died, his son and successor, Abdul Rahman Sanchuelo made a provocative move by forcing Caliph Hisham II to appoint Sanchuelo as his heir. Surely opposed by more entitled Umayyad families and soon triggered an uprising led by Hisham's cousins, Suleiman II and Muhammad II. No exception to Cordoba, it was also targeted by the rebels. They stormed Madinat al-Zahra, looted the palace for 4 days and put it to flames. The once magnificent Madinat al-Zahra shortly reduced to ashes in year 1010. With only ruins left, it was forgotten, buried and vanished. Until 900 years later in 1911, the ruins of Madinat al-Zahra was found in a location around 6 kilometers west of Cordoba. Since then, the excavation and restoration project continued to be done. However, so far they can only manage to restore 10% of its 112-hectare total area. The Medina Azahara Museum was also built near the UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Andalus Civil War lasted for 22 years until the year 1031 when the Caliphate finally fell and broke into small kingdoms called Taifa. While these 33 taifas fighting each other over territory and resources, in the north, Christian kingdom of Leon and Castile were getting stronger and threatening with Reconquista. Taking advantage of weakened taifas, King Alfonso VI of Leon and Castile successfully seized strategic cities of Toledo and Madrid in 1085. The city of Toledo played an important role not only for military purpose but also as the transfer hub for science and culture from the Islamic world to Western Europe. The new Christian ruler immediately founded the Toledo School of Translators. a group of scholars who worked together to translate many of Islamic philosophical and scientific works from Arabic into Latin, to be spread and learned in Western Europe. After witnessing the fall of Toledo, all other taifas soon realized their vulnerability. They were forced to pay a large sum of tribute to Alfonso VI, to avoid the same fate. Meanwhile in Morocco, an Islamic conservative movement named Almoravid rose as dominant power in the North and West Africa. Reluctant to pay expensive tribute, the Emir of Seville Taifa, Al-Mu'tamid ibn Abd decided to seek the Almoravid support to face the army of Leon and Castile led by Alfonso VI. In the year 1086, Almoravid army led by Yusuf ibn Tashfin successfully defeated Alfonso VI in the Battle of Secrehas, temporarily put the Reconquista into halted. After his victory over Alfonso VI, Yusuf ibn Tashfin took over the power from Taifas and made Andalusia a province of the Almoravid kingdom, which he ruled from the capital city of Marrakesh in Morocco. The Almoravid viewed Andalusian Taifas rulers including Al-Mu'tamid as un-Islamic. He was then sent into exile to Morocco for the rest of his life. While leaving his palace of Alcazar Seville, to his son who once advised him not to ask the help from the Almoravid, he said, "I have no desire to be branded by my descendants as the man who delivered Al-Andalus as prey to the infidels. I am loath to have my name cursed in every Muslim pulpit. And, for my part, I would rather be a camel driver in Africa than a swineherd in Castile." Even though known as conservatives, the Almoravid adopted Andalusian arts by assigning Andalusian architect and craftsmen to work on the renovation of Al-Karawiyan Mosque in Fez. Following defeat after defeat in battles against the Kingdom of Leon and Castile between the year 1138 and 1139, and the death of their leader, Ali ibn Yusuf in 1143, the Almoravid was fading out. The year 1147 marked the end of the Almoravid. Following the revolt of the Almohad movement, an Islamic fanatic group of Berber tribe founded by Muhammad ibn Tumar. The Almohad managed to take over territories formerly belonged to the Almoravid from Tunisia to Andalusia, except for Lisbon, which seized by the Kingdom of Portugal in the same year. The Almohad period was marked by the transfer of capital city from Cordoba to Seville. They built Al-Muwarik Palace, where currently Royal Alcazar of Seville located. The Almohad also built the Great Mosque of Sevilla, which later after Reconquista converted into cathedral. But the former minaret La Giralda maintains its original form. The construction of the Great Mosque of Sevilla and minaret La Giralda completed in 1198 during the reign of Caliph Yusuf I. La Giralda is a twin of the minaret of Qutbiyya Mosque in Marrakesh. Following disintegration started since year 1225, the Almohad Empire began its downfall. Once again, Christian kingdoms took advantage of the situation to continue the process of Reconquista. Kingdom of Castile, Leon, Portugal and Aragon attacked simultaneously from different directions. City after city taken without significant resistance. Merida, Mallorca and Badajoz 1230, Beja 1234, Cordoba 1236, Valencia and Nubla Hueva 1238, Sils 1242, Murcia 1243, Jaén 1246, Alicante and finally Seville fell in 1248. Muhammad ibn Nusair, or also known as Ibn al-Ahmar, took over control of the remaining Moorish territory. He founded Nasrid dynasty and the Emirate of Granada. Al-Ahmar chose Alcazaba, a 9th century citadel, as his residence. He reinforced its defenses, made expansions and renovations, and named it Alhambra, the Red Palace. After many cities in Al-Andalus fell to Christian kingdoms, most of their Muslims and Jewish citizens fled to the only territory still held by the Moor, which is Granada. Those include engineers, craftsmen, artists and architects, all then contributed to the construction of the Alhambra Palace, the last masterpiece of the Moorish Muslim of Al-Andalus. Completed in 1333 during Sultan Yusuf I, Alhambra as a palace city consists of 6 Moorish-style palaces. An architectural style identical with horseshoe arch, garden, fountain and basin. As well as combined decorative ornament containing geometrically patterned mosaics tile work in beautifully carved arabesque of mostly Quranic verses, and the national motto of "There's no victor but Allah." Last but not least, the remarkable muqarnas. A honeycomb stalactite-shaped decorative ornament usually carved in domes, vaults, mihrabs and niches. Muqarnas is a 3D manifestation of an Islamic typical two-dimension geometrical pattern. A fusion of art and math. So detail, reflecting high artistic taste and the advancement of culture and civilization of Al-Andalus at that time. Though surrounded by powerful Christian kingdoms, located on the highland gave them geographical advantage, so Granada and Alhambra able to survive for the next 200 years. Until 1482, when internal conflict again broke out. Urged by his mother, Aisha, Muhammad XII Abu Abdullah seized power from his own father, Sultan Abu al-Hasan Ali. Just about a year in power, Abu Abdullah or Boabdil was captured during his first campaign against Castile Kingdom. His uncle, Muhammad XIII Al-Zagul then took over the vacant throne. After made an agreement with Queen Isabella of Castile, Boabdil then released and promised to be helped in reclaiming his throne from his uncle Al-Zagul. Of course it wasn't for free. With the help of Boabdil and his followers, important cities like Ronda and Marbella were taken from Al-Zagul by the Kingdom of Castile and Aragon in 1485. Followed by Malaga, Baza, Almancar, and Almería. Malaga was the largest port city and vital for the economy of Granada. Its loss made Granada isolated. Even though Boabdil managed to reclaim his throne, practically only Granada itself, the city, remained under his control. Just a matter of time before the enemy made their final blow. After besieged for 8 months, on 25 November 1491, Sultan Boabdil finally signed his submission and agreed to surrender Granada peacefully to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. And on the 2nd of January 1492, Boabdil left Alhambra Palace in Granada, marked the end of 780 years of Muslim reign in Iberian Peninsula. When he reached a mountain pass which gave the last view of Alhambra, his birthplace, his city and kingdom, Boabdil then looked back, sighed for what he had lost. But his mother snapped at him and said,
Don't you weep like a woman for what you cannot defend like a man.
In the same year, after conquering the prosperous Granada, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Castile then sponsored the voyage of Christopher Columbus to explore the New World. Even though in the Peace Treaty of Granada were listed clauses which ensure the safety of soul, property, worship places, and the freedom of performing their religion for every Muslim citizen of Granada. In reality, however, the Spanish Catholic monarchy implemented the Inquisition policy. Muslims were forced to choose between baptism or expelled from Spanish territory. Culminated in year 1609 by a decree of King Philip III ordered expulsion of all remaining Moors from the Spanish domain. Though no longer able to be in the land they had lived for 8 centuries, though they roll part of the Western civilization often denied. But the memory and legacy of the Moors and the glory of Al-Andalus is eternal and can still be pursued.